Thank you for downloading this RealAgriculture podcast. Excite your crops with inputs from Excite Bio. Access nitrogen and phosphorus with Excite Bio's lineup of inoculants and ag biologicals. Since 2010, they've been helping farmers harness the power of the soil. Learn more at excitebio.ca. That's XITEBIO.ca.
It's now time to talk about what's going on in the cattle markets, and we're joined by Ann Wasko, the Gateway Livestock Exchange. Ann, how are we doing today?
I'm great, Shaun.
Things are good. It's snow. What? Like
We just got, we're not like Lethbridge. We got our first skiff kind of last night, but snow coming tomorrow. So It looks good. I like that first snow. Everything's clean and we're ready for it. Everything's good.
If you say so. Hey, let's talk about the next generation of the Brant U trough auger. It's here. They can move up to 9,000 bushels per hour, even in the harshest of conditions. Visit your local Brant dealer today, or you can go to brant.ca. Okay, and let's get an update. What's going on from a cattle price perspective? Start south of the border.
Well, a little bit better markets in the U.S. this week. We came off a little bit of a down over the last couple, but in the South, Texas, Kansas this week, we gained $1 back, so 186. And then in that Nebraska and the northern region, we call it 186, 187. That's 1 to 2 higher than last week, and 290 was their delivered trade, which is steady with last week. So a little bit better. And if the question is, well, why? We were on a bit of a downtrend, and how did we get this bounce? Certainly both in the U.S. and Canada, but from a U.S. perspective, packers have been running smaller fed cattle kills here in the last few weeks. And so that's put some pretty good support under that cutout. And so actually that choice cutout gained $3 this week. So it had dropped over the last few weeks. So it closed last night at 306.80. But again, that support and getting that support for the cutout gave us that support for the cash market. So that's kind of what happened there. The select spread, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago, it's widened again to $34. That's not an all-time or anything, but it's out there. And again, just another confirmation, Shaun, about the demand for choice cuts and choice product, especially middle meats as we head into the holiday season. And for the Canadian listeners, remember that next week we're heading into a holiday week, if you will, in the U.S. With Thanksgiving on Thursday. And so again, some good support as we go into the shorter production week next week.
Yeah, and we're also, what I was thinking too, the Canadian government announced the GST break, and a part of that is restaurants. And so that could be good for beef demand at restaurants in Canada as we go through the holidays.
Yeah. And again, going back, I don't know how many listeners, and if they didn't, they should go back and listen to your interview with Lance Zimmerman on beef demand and some of the pointers that some of the research they've done, or he's got his hands on in terms of what's going on at retail versus food service. And every little bit counts, but we're certainly holding our own. And this choice select spread just continues to confirm that demand for those high quality middle meats is just solid as heck, both at retail and food service.
Yeah. Kate, prices in Canada.
In Canada, we saw the local market in Alberta last night or yesterday, 405 to 408 delivered dressed. That's going to be called on the bottom end steady, on the top end +3. So again, a little bit of support there. That means when Canfax comes out with their average this afternoon, it should be around in the mid 240s, 245, 246. So that's, if somebody's wondering where the live market's at, that's kind of where we sit. Today is U.S. on feed report day. So this afternoon we'll get the November 1 report. So the guesses that would have come out earlier this week kind of set us up for what the trade is expecting, if you will, and what the futures market kind of have priced in. So the guess for the report this afternoon, November 1 on feed, same as a year ago. October placements up 3 and marketing's up 5. So that's what's in the report. Now, here in Western Canada, Canfax does a report for us, and it comes out a week prior, so it was out last Friday. And just in a nutshell, we saw the same kind of trend. October placements were up in Western Canada. October marketings were up. But one difference is, and we've seen this all year long, our on-feed numbers are running below a year ago, whereas the U.S. is running even, we're running below. And again, just, I think, quantifying the whole tighter supply here in Western Canada as we go. The one kind of interesting point that I saw that coming off of that report for Western Canada was we had a big increase in the number of yearling heifers, so grass heifers that got placed in October. And so it's a big number, but I think again it's just reminding us that this year the conditions were so much better. Grass conditions were so good. You could run those grass cattle until October. Whereas last year they were long gone by now.
Yeah. Give us an update on the feeder market compared to this time last year.
Yeah, so we're winding down, of course, on the calf front. It's been a busy go, but it's been tremendous in terms of record prices. But when the dust all settles, if you just take, what are we running at an average today, the same week last year, our 5 to 6 weight steer calves are up $330 per head. And yearling steers, and these are just averages, are up $350 per head. So that's the year over year increase. If you were just selling cash cattle, feeder cattle, or calves this week versus the same week last year. So that's the kind of fall we've had. It's been incredible. And just a great way to kind of finish off this run.
I bet you there's a number of feeders that are looking at some of the destruction in the value of the Canadian dollar, and they're seeing that adds to the bottom line as well. No, we don't really know as far as how low this could go. You think back to the middle or the beginning of COVID, I think we dipped off 68 cents, so I guess we could use it a bit of a potential, but that decrease in the value is definitely going to help on those export numbers.
Yeah, lots of folks looking at that 70-cent mark, and we've got some really important interest rate decisions both in the U.S. and Canada. Middle of December, so 11th and the 18th, I believe, are the two dates, respectively. And so depending on what those decisions are, certainly can play into what happens with our Canadian dollar vis-a-vis the U.S. And of course, as we roll into 2025, we're going to certainly be into a new administration, and what decisions are made there and economically could play into the dollar. But you're bang on. This weaker Canadian dollar has certainly supported Canadian cattle prices as we finish off the year.
Yeah, can we get about a minute left? What are some other data points that you want to bring up?
Well, I did want to, just because we're getting into the bred market right now. So bred cows and bred heifers, it looks like super demand, super interest. So we'll see prices are certainly starting off higher than last year. And I think the reason being, finally, of course, we've all been waiting for when is this bred market finally going to catch up with what's going on in the feeder market. And I would say to you, I think that's happening. Certainly buyers are seeing, they came through a great grass year. We've talked about that. They've got feed and now they've got the calf check in the bank, right? So all those things mean we're going to go back and buy. We might only need a few. We might need quite a few, depending on who you are and where you are. But I think there will be some great buying interest on this bred market as we finish the rest of the year too.
Overall, we just did our Canadian Farmer Sentiment Index for October, and livestock producers definitely feeling better about some of their broad acre cropping peers. That is
yeah,
sure.
It's been a long time since you've seen that reversal, hasn't it?
Yes, no, absolutely. That's what I keep. I remember being at the Canadian Beef Industry Conference in August. And it was, the sentiment is it's about time, right? And I hear that from on the Farmer Rapid Fire from some of the farmers across the country that have nothing to do with livestock. They'll say it's about time. I got a cousin or I got a neighbor that's into ranching, and this is much needed. So I think there's a bit of a relief of a feeling there across the sector. And thanks so much for joining us here this week. Have yourself a great snowy weekend, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Shaun. You too.